Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Spark Faith Podcast. I am Dr. Chris Sargent, and I have a very cool and chill guest today. She is into yoga and all things amazing and a very specific type of yoga, which she's going to go into because it actually can change your brain waves. We're not going to necessarily dive into that too deep today, but it can really make a huge difference in your moods and in a whole bunch of other things. And I'm not going to talk about it because I am not the expert here, but Danae Robinett, thank you and welcome, is the expert. And she's going to tell us a little bit about herself. And then we're going to get into the yoga things.
Hello, Dr.
Yoga.
Hello, Dr. Chris. Oh, I'm so delighted to be with you today. Thank you for this opportunity to have a conversation about yoga and all the things relaxing and soothing.
I love that.
So my name's Danae. It sounds like Renee. I've been teaching yoga for 19 years, retreat leader for 12, and I also am my father's caregiver. And I'm so pleased and honored to be there for him as he navigates cancer a third time. And so yoga is my wheelhouse. And what I want to share with your audience is something called Yoga Nidra. And Nidra means sleep in Sanskrit. And this is a practice that is available to anyone and everyone, which makes it so sweet. It's a lay down and listen practice. If you fall asleep, it's okay because body probably needs the sleep. Yoga Nidra is the art of relaxation.
And that.
Yes, right? Don't we need more relaxation?
We all definitely need relaxation. And I know that my clients need sleep.
Yes.
All things sleep.
And here's the thing, right, Dr. Chris? I know you know this. There's so many tensions in the body, right? Physical, muscular tension, mental tension, like all the worry and concern. And then also emotional tension where we haven't processed things. Maybe we're repressing things. We're kind of stuffing stuff down. Those three types of tensions exist at all times, maybe more so than others, and they really wreak havoc on our sleep. And
let's talk a little bit more about that. Say more about that. We're going to dig right in.
Let's get into it. Right. So if you're tense, that's the opposite of relaxation, right? And so that's the aim of Yoga Nidra, is to help break down or discard those tensions. First, on the physical level, right? You're on your spine, laying down, either on the floor, yoga mat. You don't need one. You can do it on top of your bed even. And you want to make sure that you're supremely comfortable, right? So a light blanket, something to cover the eyes. There's research where even an eye pillow or a light scarf across the eyes, closed eyes, helps stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system. So to promote the relaxation already just by closing the eyes, but also having a light covering over the eyes. And then something under the backs of the knees. You know, if you've ever gone for a massage, they put a bolster under the backs of the knees to help lengthen out the low back space, and even a covering under the backs of the heels, right? Depending on if you are on the floor, maybe it's a hardwood floor, truly choosing maximum comfort. You know, one of my Yoga Nidra teachers, Tracy Stanley, calls it the rest cave. So take the time to set it up so you are really in that state of bliss and relaxation, rejuvenation. It can come to you. And then there are passages. You know, you can play a recording. Over time, you might get to know how to guide your own self. But to be guided, I think, is the treat, because then, you know, brain can kind of shut off. You are still awake and alert, but it's not meditation. I think a lot of times people think, oh, it's meditation laying down, but meditation is active and meditation is about concentration, whereas Yoga Nidra is truly all about relaxation and releasing those tensions.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So you mentioned something, the parasympathetic nervous system. And for everybody out there, tell us a little bit about parasympathetic versus sympathetic nervous system. And I'm happy to jump in, but yes. You've already said it, so I know you know it. Go ahead.
Well, you might be able to say it more succinctly, but it's like fight or flight. right?
Yes.
It's like active or
That's your
inactive.
sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight, and your parasympathetic unwinds all that.
I think that's so sweetly said. Yeah. So unwind, unpack, dissolve, right?
Yes.
And we want to be in that state when we're heading to bed. We want to be in that
Yes, we
state.
do.
Yes,
So what
we
are some
do.
other ways? Like I definitely have a nap cave, like what you just said, right?
Yes.
Like my bed, I have one of those magic beds that does all kind of crazy things, but I can
Ooh.
get into an anti-gravity position. I always have a light blanket. Sometimes I do an eye pillow, sometimes I don't. I'll start using it all the time. But I can lay down for 20 minutes, throw on something from my Calm app for
Yes.
those of,
Yes.
a body relaxation Calm app thing. Um, and I'm out for 25, 30 minutes and I'm good, like good to go, like so good. Um, but I've been doing that for literally decades, like most of my life.
So
So,
good.
how do you get started and what are some other ways that we can dive into our parasympathetic nervous system as we approach sleep in the evenings?
Okay, well let's go
I know
there
that was a
first.
couple of questions,
That was
but
a couple of questions, and I want to cover all of them. But let's go to the nighttime routines or
yes.
rituals.
Yes, because this is stuff that, okay, y'all, you can take this home, start taking notes, go get a piece of paper, whatever, pull out your phone and take some notes here because this is the stuff that I preach all the time. So,
Yes, yes. Let's frame it instead of I have to get ready for bed,
oh,
I
I
get to
get to.
get ready for bed. Yes, mindset, right? Words do matter. I get to unwind in the evening, right? So there's so many ways you can do this. I suggest try one for a few days, see if it resonates with you, and then, really commit to it. Choose it because you're choosing yourself first, right? So maybe it's a hot bath, hot Epsom salt bath. Maybe it's aromatherapy, right? A lavender essential oil is your jam. Maybe it's lowering the lights.
Yes, I'm big on that.
There's also red lighting that people have started using. If you think about our ancestors, right, they had fires,
Right.
and
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a red light, and it's low to the ground. So even considering if your lighting is overhead, maybe lighting candles or having light low to the ground.
Like a
And
night light in a
mhm,
low plug along a
yes,
hallway in your bedroom, in the room where you're watching TV,
yeah,
which I'm sure
yes,
we're going to
I
address in a
know.
minute.
Netflix is so fun. Of course it is, right? We have to admit that. However, there is some benefit and value to turning the screens off, at a certain time and giving yourself that space before heading to bed. So if 1 hour seems impractical right now in this moment, great. Make it 10 minutes and then incrementally start to push it out so that you could actually have an hour. Let's say you turn the screens off at 8 p.m. You start unwinding now. You have a whole hour. Wow, now you get to take the bath. You get to use the aromatherapy. You get to maybe write in a journal and say what you're so grateful for from the day. What did you learn about from the day? What's the trash in quotes unquotes that you want to take out and not take with you to bed, for
I
example?
love that. That's so convicting, even for me. Like, oh, I don't have time to take a hot bath. No, because I don't turn my screens off early enough, right? Even if I turn my screens off at 9 or 9:30 to go to bed at 10 or 10:30, like that's an hour. That's half an hour is wash your face, brush your teeth, do all the things.
Yes.
When you're my age, you have to do a couple extra things just to keep it looking right. Um, and make sure the dogs are happy or lock the doors and stuff, and by that time half hour 45 minutes goes by and then you have 15 minutes to kind of like breathe, lay
Mm,
down, get your bed comfy, and then you can go to sleep. But that's not enough time necessarily to take a hot bath and like feel like it's gonna actually help. However,
mm.
at 8:30 to do that, right? So pick your time carefully so that you can, if a hot bath just seems impossible, maybe it's your habit.
Yes. And maybe you even think about your nighttime routines at the beginning of the day, right? So what you're choosing and doing in the morning and throughout the whole of the day can start to shape and inform how you start to wind down in the evening, right?
For sure.
So maybe you're getting movement in the day, right? You're choosing to exercise, take a walk, yoga class if you want, more in the front end of the day or the middle of the day, right? Exercise is great, even if you'd end up doing it at nighttime. But if you end up doing it at nighttime, you're going to be all like riled up, not ready for bed.
Yeah, that turns on our sympathetic nervous system.
There you go.
And puts us more into fight and flight. It can increase cortisol levels. A calm walk in the evening is awesome, but a big, shot at the gym at 8 p.m. for most people, not for everybody. A big heavy gym workout at 8 o'clock is not, that's gonna amp you up more than it's gonna calm you down.
Yes, good point. So how you start your day, take a close look at that as well, right? And start to build some morning routines that are of good support and value to you. So rising with the sun, right? There's some value in honoring the circadian rhythms. Rising,
so big.
Time just changed, right? I'm in California. You're also in a state that observes the time change, and whether you love it or hate it, it is what it is, right? We have to adapt to it. So rising with the sun is so important. Getting some vitamin D has got value too. First thing in the morning, sun in the eyes.
Yeah, it's true, right? Like there's definitely studies out there, if y'all don't know, that if you can get outside as quickly as possible after you wake up, even if it's just for a 5 or 10 minute walk around your neighborhood real quick, and look at the sky and where the sun is coming up if it's not up yet, or if you're a late sleeper, like just get out and get that sun in your eyes, to some extent, even just the bright light, because it really does help to kick your circadian rhythm into a different place, and it jumpstarts your body also by adding a little bit of cortisol in the morning when you first get up.
Yes, and I also would add that it's a mood lifter, right?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yes. Well, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Goes without saying. I mean, the vitamin D piece is a little bit different, and it depends on where you live and what time of year it is and all those kind of things. But
sure.
It is a mood. It definitely will stimulate the more positive things. And if you're outside that early morning, it's calm, it's quiet. You're not getting your day all jacked up right from the get-go. And you can appreciate nature for a minute. I know that sounds kind of corny maybe to some people, but like right now in the spring in Tennessee, like the dogwoods are blooming, and I know, the trees are starting to pop out and the animals are coming out and all the things. So it's beautiful.
Yes. And nature, that is so important, right? In Japan, they have coined this phrase since the 80s, forest bathing.
Yes.
Just being in nature, walking amongst trees has tremendous value for, helping us take in better breaths, right? Get more oxygen, because that's the gift the trees give. And just stepping away from the frenetic pace of life to be in nature has such value.
It really does. Y'all, 20 minutes in nature will cut your cortisol levels in half.
Wow.
So if you're stressed out, like you've had a stressful day or a stressful conversation, or maybe you're in the midst of a stressful conversation, maybe the best thing you can do is say, like, for me with my kids, like, mommy, time out. I'm out. I will be back in 20 minutes. Go get a new perspective. Calm your body down. And then you're not taking that tension, because that's where we started, with you.
Oh, that's powerful to hold that boundary. And that would be a lesson that you would be teaching that person, whether it's your kids, for instance, or it's your partner, and really honoring what you need in the moment. It's not saying you're getting out of the conversation. You're going to come back to it later. It's not over. It's not a cop out. Yeah, we're not done. We're not
done yet.
But you're choosing to honor where you're at in the moment by getting that nature piece and then coming back with fresh eyes. It's going to be a much more well-received conversation for sure.
Absolutely. 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 So into this rhythm piece. So start our nighttime rhythm in the morning by trying to get our exercise early in the day. Pay attention to the sun and the rising of the sun and our circadian rhythms in the beginning of our day, so that by evening we are able to have some boundaries and
Mm.
turn those screens off at 8,
Yes, yes, if you can.
right? Because if you can be in bed by 10 and then waking up between 4 and 6 gives you those absolute minimum of 6 hours of sleep, which is not enough, but it's minimum. Like it's the bare minimum. That means you're getting up at 4 a.m. Do you know how much more you can get done in your day when you get up that early?
I do know, actually.
I know you do. I'm just wondering if our audience understands how much can happen, and way more productive from 4 to 6 a.m. than
Mm.
you probably are from 8 to 10 p.m.
Oh,
or 10 to midnight,
preach, preach.
because you are so tired at that point. Like I know you want to answer those last emails and you don't want to have whatever it is, but
Hmm.
you can get up early in the morning and like grind those out so much faster in such a better way. And you can have already done your exercise and gotten out in the morning and done all those things. And your colleagues are just waking up and you've already like cleared the desk.
Efficiency will rise. Absolutely. It's so much quieter at that time, and it feels so good to have a slow, unhurried, unrushed pace, right? If you have more time in the morning, you are more steady, more at ease. You're more capable for the rest of the day. And there's a piece I wanted to also offer throughout the day, which I admit I struggle with still, is hydration. Proper hydration, getting enough water throughout the day. Yes, cheers. Is so
I'm two fisted
critical.
in here. I've got some sparkling and some still.
That's my kind of girl. I love it. Yes, because we lose water when we sleep. It's so important.
You have dehydrated yourself for 6 to 8 hours or
Yes.
longer.
Yes.
Probably longer, because a lot of us, particularly as we get a little bit older, stop drinking water around 7 or 8 o'clock so that we're not up all night long.
Oh, yes. I understand that through my father. Yes.
Yes, you do. So, yeah, I mean, going 12 hours or so, or 10 hours without any water at all, I keep this by my bed. And it's about a liter. So it's
Mm.
about 33 ounces, 32, 33 ounces. And a lot of times I wake up in the middle of the night, I roll over if I'm awake enough, like grab that, go to the bathroom real quick, grab that, few sips, and then back to sleep. But by the time I get my coffee in the morning, that thing has to be finished so that I start my day in that hydrated space.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, if that'll help you guys.
And I would just want to offer, as you said, the coffee and the water, I think that's so great, is this concept of habit stacking. You probably have shared this with your audience before. Like when
I
we're
love this.
starting,
Go for it.
when we're starting something new, it can be hard, right? It's new. So
So hard.
lean into the discomfort of the hard. You can do hard things. Women, we can do hard
We do
things,
hard things all the time, ladies.
right? But stack it with something you're already doing. So if you are a coffee drinker, I am no judgment if you're not, or if you are, it's all good. You're having a morning beverage, whatever it is, stack the thing that's new with the thing that you're already doing. And slowly but surely it will become a habit and it'll become a ritual. And if you don't like the word habit, then choose ritual. Ritual sounds so lovely.
It's so much
Ritual.
warmer and so much more self-caring, than a
Yes.
habit. Habit is very light, but a habit is a habit. And I definitely, that's probably one of the harder things is before I get that coffee is that most of this needs to be gone.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Maybe not all, but most. Um, and otherwise I don't really get to drink my coffee. Like coffee is the reward for drinking the
Uh-huh.
water at a time.
Yeah, that makes sense to
Yeah,
me too.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so nighttime routines, right? Low lights, screens off. aromatherapy, hot baths, maybe some red light therapy if you can afford it, or if that's appealing to you. We used to have settle down time in my house when my kids were really little, and the lights would all go off. The only light we would leave on, when they were younger, would be like TV from 6 to 7, and then we had night lights well placed throughout the house that would just automatically pop on when it got dark enough. And so they would never walk into a bright room at night. We always kept things very chill. And that particular habit is real easy for me. I don't like bright lights anyway. So
yes, agreed. I think one more thing comes to mind, which I am still working on making it consistent, meaning every evening, just because of schedules and so on and so forth. That's not an excuse. It just is what it is in this season of life. Right. Is dinner time at a reasonable time. They have the senior specials at restaurants for a reason, actually. There's so much
wisdom there.
There's so much wisdom there, right? Because, and I know you can speak more about this, Dr. Chris, when we are having a full stomach of food, and then we're trying to get to bed, body is working so hard to digest the food, and that disrupts the sleep and the restoration. Does. Yeah.
Yeah, you take away from time. It's like if you're going to take your car in, so let's just say you had a few little scratches on it, right? So you take it to your auto body shop and you're like, hey, I need these scratches out by 4 o'clock. It's 2 o'clock. And the guy's like, oh yeah, I can get that done. That's not a problem. But then he decides to go take a lunch break for an hour, and you come back and he's like, well, it's going to take me another hour. Well, that's what you're doing. Instead of getting the work done that your body needs to be repairing itself, you're digesting your food.
Yes. It's a hard truth, but it is
I know. The other piece of that, and something that has really helped postmenopausally for me, and more recently, I've discovered just changing up my own habits for my own good and my own weight and my own all the things and my own energy levels, particularly while I was caring for my mom. I have shifted most of my calories to before 3 o'clock. I am not an intermittent faster. That never worked for me. I need to eat sooner than later. But if I get most of my calories in by 3 or 4 o'clock in the day, then at night, so I can sit down if my kids happen to be around and we want to go out to dinner, I just order a salad, no protein. Then it's just veggies, and they're much more easily processed, and it's not heavy. And so then even if we eat later, it's still just veggies, and it's much, much easier to process. Your body doesn't have to crank up all the systems for all of that.
So smart, right?
Well, honestly, it's always a journey for me, as not only as a practitioner, but as a female, right? I'm a woman who is 7 years postmenopausal, and things change all the time. I mean, even when you think everything is going to be okay, things still change. And so I am in process of always being ahead of hopefully y'all, and so that I can say, hey, around menopause, maybe this is a trial for you. Try this out. See how you feel. See how, if it shifts your weight. Like for me, I instantly dropped about 7 pounds.
Wow. That's impressive.
I didn't change what I was eating. I just changed when I was eating it.
Right.
Well, I upped my protein a little bit, but like not significantly enough to say that was it, right? Like it's really about when I got it in. And I work out in the morning, so it all gets burned off that way.
Yes, right, because metabolism
fully digested.
Yeah. Ignite the metabolism.
Fire. I love all of those suggestions. Okay, so I'm going to get my mindset right. I am going to turn off my screen. There's nothing on Netflix that won't wait till tomorrow night for an hour tomorrow night. I'm going to unwind by choosing a nice hot Epsom salts bath, or chill with my candles and aromatherapy, and not eat too late. What else? What else you got?
What else do I got? I think those are good ideas. And okay. what's most important about that is like choosing one and giving it a go, right? And
Yeah, I agree.
I say just one because while they all sound amazing and appealing, and over time you might actually implement all of them, when we
Oh,
start something new, if we try to go all the things full speed ahead, then it falls
you're gonna make
apart.
yourself crazy.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
make yourself
Let's just
crazy.
try candles,
Yes, keep it
right? Let's just try
simple.
some aromatherapy candle and turn your lights down and see how you feel about that. Like,
Yes, yes, yes.
does that feel better, different, whatever? Yes, one definitely, again, habit stacking, one thing at a time.
One thing at a
Absolutely. So
time.
this is a way we can begin to help release tension. How
Mhm.
do we understand, Danae, how do we understand where our tension is? Because
Mm.
sometimes you don't realize that your shoulders are now connected to your earlobes
Yes,
and you
yes.
didn't know that they'd actually grown together over time.
I
And
love
so
that.
how do I let that all go? Or for some people, it sits in their low back and their belly, right? Like
Mhm.
their stomach is turning in knots. You know,
Yes.
that's there's a reason that people think that. Like their brain and their body talk to each other, and your gut
Mhm.
is your second brain. So you have to listen to all of those things. How do we recognize where that tension is?
Well, I think the breath can be a good indicator.
Mm,
If you are breathing in a short, shallow way, it's not serving you, right? And we all do it when we're sitting in the traffic, when we're having the challenging conversation, even when we're doom scrolling on our favorite platform. I think I can't think of the term, but they've coined a term where we're almost like holding the breath because we're in this like phantom mode of scroll, scroll, scroll. We're not even noticing or paying attention. We're just in this scroll, scroll, scroll frenetic pace, and the breath is um, almost in a pause state. And then we
oh
take
my
another
goodness.
breath. That's so
It's almost
damaging.
like awake app. It's like apnea awake,
Yes. Yes.
right? Like you just
Right. It's true. It's
yeah,
true.
this is death scrolling.
Yes.
It creates death. It does not create life.
Right.
You do not feel better when you're done.
Yes. Yes.
I don't care how many cute kittens and dogs you've seen, you don't feel better.
It's so true.
You don't. In fact, you go, oh, I just missed an hour of my life.
Boom. Boom. And that's the
Sorry, y'all.
guess.
Hard truth.
So the breath, right? So noticing how your breath is throughout the day and how can you just take in a more fuller, spacious breath, right? I start my day with a pranayama. That's another word for breathing techniques, practice every day. It doesn't have to be fancy. It could just be placing a hand on the heart and the belly and taking 3 deep breaths and choosing to do that. Maybe when you first get in your car, you know you're going to have a long drive. I do a lot of driving here in the Bay Area, so there's always a lot of
Ugh.
traffic. And you got to deal with what it is. So prepare yourself. Take those deep breaths. So then again, it becomes that ritual, that habit. When you do encounter the traffic, you can just go right back to your breath. You can catch yourself and go, oh, I'm taking those shorter, shallower breaths. They're not serving me. Even exhaling audibly and creating sound. I do that all the time when I'm in the car by myself. It's
I
so
love that.
cathartic.
It is. Like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yes,
It
exactly.
so it totally is. One of the things, just to tag on to the three breaths thing like that, and with like really paying attention to the fact that your belly goes out as you inhale because you want your lungs to open up like
Yes.
all the way at the bottom, not like because then you just cut your breath off about here. And
Yes.
your lungs go all the way down to your ribs. So using all of your lungs is three breaths can literally stop a panic attack and
Mm,
can cut anxiety, can cut cortisol, can get your brain back. It's that emotional intelligence moment, can get your brain to stop the ruminating, can get your brain to shift into a much better space when you can just practice those three deep, good breaths. And those are some of the things that, especially if you have younger children, ladies or dads, and you need to just walk away for a second. Like, it doesn't take that long. It's literally about a 16 count breath. And I in 4, hold 6 or 7, out 7 or 8, right? And that just gives you exactly what you need and more oxygen in your brain, and your nervous system calms down, and you can flip to that parasympathetic nervous system.
And best of all, it's so simple. There's no cost. You don't have to go anywhere to do it. You don't have to put yoga pants on, any of those things.
Oh, wait, yoga pants to breathe.
It's available to you as you need it. So tap into it. Oh,
come on. Most of us have yoga pants on anyway. We're on Zoom all day.
I love that. Yes.
We made it so popular, yoga. That's awesome. I love all the sleep talk, because I think people really do need to hear the consistency is so important, particularly exercise. And I'm gonna again plug a little bit of postmenopausal exercise. That's the need for strength training for sleep postmenopausal, because it does shift your hormones. It will make a difference in your sleep.
Yes, I echo that for strength training for women. Even I'd argue, like, as I'm in my 40s, my mid 40s, as we approach 40s, like
approaching it,
that as a priority. So as you're in your 40s, maybe also approaching the perimenopause phase, like, get strong. It's okay to have some muscular strength. Strong. Yes. And couple that with protein, right? Protein is needed in order to build muscle. They go hand in hand. They're a happy dance together.
They are. Yes. You can't do this without protein. And, my clients know that I'm not opposed to vegetarianism. However, I am a carnivore, and I found that it's just so much easier that way than trying to balance a lower carb diet. A lower carb plant diet doesn't feel good for me. So you also have to figure out where your best protein sources are and what works for you.
Oh, amen to that. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think a lot of times people have the misconception that yogis or yoga students must be vegetarian or even vegan, and that's the furthest from the truth. Right. I would say I am also a carnivore. Be conscious where you're choosing and purchasing.
If you can afford to do that and you can get the best from the best, then do that. And if you can't, and you are a carnivore, just like I always just tell people, do the best you can. If you can only shop at Aldi and Costco for your meat, great. At least you're getting in quality protein. It's better than eating a muffin.
Boom. Yes. Yes.
You can spend your money on a lot of different things, but get it from what you can afford to do.
Yes, so that it becomes the ritual. Again, as we're echoing that piece, honing that in. Doing something once or twice is great, but it's not effective for the consistency piece, right?
Right. Really, and again, one or two things at a time. Like, we have talked about a lot of habits just to now, and they all probably sound like, yes, I get started, all the things, but that's not going to help you. So pick a couple of the things that we've talked about and start working them in. Even if it takes you a year to implement, you're going to be better off next year.
Amen.
So yes, do not do this like the perfectionist that you think you need to be. Do it as a recovering perfectionist.
Oh, I like that. And
do it as a recovering perfectionist.
One more thing to add, if this helps, I have an agenda, a calendar. I like to note, either with a symbol or the word of the thing that I'm starting that's new, like I did it on this day. And then I can
check off a gold star.
I can go back and see, I made it 7 days in a row, or what happened on Tuesday that I didn't get to it. Now, this isn't an invitation to beat yourself up. It's just to bring awareness, like what did happen on Tuesday that prevented you from doing it? Can you make a shift, or is it just Tuesday is going to be that way? It's okay. You can start again on Wednesday. Every day is a fresh start. Yes.
I love that. Love that. Love that. And honestly, we can use our technology to help us, right?
Yes.
There are ways to put your phone on do not disturb. You don't have to
Yes.
turn on all your notifications. You can, your watch, if you have, I know my Apple Watch anyway, has like a mindfulness setting that reminds me for 1 minute to breathe,
Oh,
you
that's great.
know, and you can
Yes.
put that mindfulness setting in as many times a day as you want. So that 3 or 4 times a day, you just breathe. And for the Christians among us, like that's also a great time to connect with God, right? Like maybe you have a scripture that you found this morning, or maybe you have a favorite scripture that you pray all the time, but this mindfulness moment gives you time to connect with God. And all of the things that Danae is talking about today can match up with Christianity. This isn't about bringing in anything other than what your beliefs are, and taking them into the practice with you.
Yes,
I think I
absolutely.
said that right.
You said it perfectly. And I want to just echo what you're saying about mindfulness. Uh, there's so many opportunities to be more mindful throughout the day, whether it is bringing the awareness to the breath, it is a moment of just expressing gratitude, considering 1, 2, 3, there's always more than 3 things to be grateful for. Like my dad loves to say, he is grateful he woke up, and then he's grateful, or it was a good day if he woke up. It's a great day if he got outside and he got to do something. And it's an even better day if he saw a pretty girl. Right? So every day we
You
can
show
have,
up all the time, so
yes. Check mark. So the gratitude piece, and also when you're having conversations with family, with friends, colleagues, really being so in the moment with that conversation. It's so easy to kind of think, oh, what am I going to say back to that? But then you're losing what they're saying and you're not being mindful. And so whether it is your time with scripture or it is your time in a conversation with a loved one, just choose it and choose that as the only thing you're doing.
right, being present.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like an overused term to some extent, to be present. However, there are skills that go with being present, and one of those is active listening, and that's exactly what you're talking about. Active listening isn't you being active while you're listening.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? It's you actively engaged with the other person, paying attention to what they're saying, not thinking about your answer, but paying attention to what they're telling you so that you can take a deep breath and then respond. That's a conversation.
And it's much more meaningful.
So much better, and less, more than likely, less miscommunication will happen.
Precisely. Yeah.
Because you're not interrupting and all the things. We have work to do on that in my world, in the interrupting space. But my kids are 19 and 21, so
Wow, what a
it's
mama.
it's a stage. So I'm curious, like, tell us a little bit about like what happens during a yoga nidra session.
Sure. So in a yoga nidra session, the practitioner lays down, right, on the floor, yoga mat on top of a bed. And then you are guided to consider a sankalpa. This is a Sanskrit word for, we could say, intention, something that you are yearning for, working on, striving for.
Maybe from the Christian perspective, they could just say, Holy Ghost, come meet me here. I want to talk to Jesus. I want to pray. Those are some of the things that can be used.
Absolutely.
As we try to meld the practices.
Absolutely. And also, whenever I teach yoga, I always say everything I say is an invitation, right? So always knowing to choose what is best for you in the moment. I think that's a big takeaway from any type of yoga. And Yoga Nidra is not excluded from that. So if the Sankalpa piece doesn't resonate with you, it's not needed. No problem.
Fine.
No problem.
Right.
So you set yourself up supine on your back, legs wide, arms open apart from the body, palms open to ceiling. Closing the eyes or shielding the eyes, covering up with a blanket is important, right? Because as we're laying down for about 20 minutes, usually the practice lasts 20, 25 minutes, you might chill down. So even if you're someone who is always cold, never hot, or always hot, never cold, just keep the blanket close by so that it doesn't disrupt your capacity to relax and really get good value from the practice. And then there's an awareness of breath, right? So you might be invited to count the breaths backwards, but just a strong awareness of breath. And then there's a body scan. So you'll go from head to toe or toes to head and really note certain body parts, right? And you're not supposed to necessarily move the fingers, as we say, right finger, right thumb. Just take your attention to the finger, take your attention to the pinky toe. And then visualization, right? So maybe you're going to go through a park and you're invited to smell the flowers and hear the birds and, step across the springy, fresh grass, right? We have heard birds. We have smelled flowers. We know what that feels like, sounds like. So you're invited to kind of start to visualize that. And I think when people hear that, they go, oh no, do I have to see the bird and smell the flower? Not necessarily. It's the intention that you're putting towards the awareness.
It's a sense of being in the park.
Yes, exactly.
It's like, okay, now I'm laying here, but I've just been transported to a really cool park. For me, it would be the beach, but that's my park.
And it absolutely could be a beach. Anything in nature counts. Yes.
Right? Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. So then I just transport myself to, now I'm at the beach. And I can hear the waves. I know exactly what my beach smells like. I know exactly what the seagulls sound like.
Yes.
I know exactly what it is on a hot day for the sun to be beating on my skin. Like I know all of those feelings, just like you might know some of those. Maybe you want to be up in a mountain and you like the cool breeze on your face. Like any of those places can work. You can be and commune with God, or you can commune any of those places and be there in moments.
Yes. Yes.
And your body and your brain, the cool thing is, I'm just going to take a little bit of a rabbit trail.
Yes.
Your brain does not know the difference between reality and your imagination. And so when you take yourself in this Yoga Nidra to your park or to whatever space you decide to go to, your body thinks it's experiencing that. Mm-hmm. Cortisol levels go down, brain waves shift, all of the parasympathetic nervous system can turn on, the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight can turn off and turn down. And you can reset your whole body during this time. It is the coolest thing. And I told Danae ahead of time, but I've been doing, it wasn't what it was called when I started doing this when I was 20. We just called it like biofeedback. We called it self-relaxation, self-meditation. We called it a whole self-hypnosis. We called it a whole bunch of things. But it wasn't called that. It's all the same thing. Or sort of. It's a similar practice.
Yes, I think, yes, that's true. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The results are the same.
Yes. Yes. And so after the visualization, it might continue on, and then you are brought back, right? You are invited to come out of the practice, to exit the practice.
To come back from the beach.
Yes, exactly.
And get back in your room.
Yes. But what is extraordinary for me as a practitioner, right? I am the one giving the practice to a student or a client, is that physically I can see how the body on the floor gets more into the floor, right? And as a student of Nidra, right? Because not only am I a teacher, but I am a student first, always, I can feel my body soften and get heavy and sink back and be, received by the floor as an embrace, which is so exciting because that means the tensions are dissolving, right? I've also seen students who lay down at the start, and it's almost like they're gripping through the fingers, the clench, the toes are curled. There's a lot of space between limbs and floor. There's so much tension. And over the time of the practice, it starts to dissolve. and release and break up, which is very, very exciting to be a witness to that. There's a saying, I've always heard this from when I first learned it back in 2005, was that a 30-minute experience is equivalent to 4 hours of sleep, that it gives you what you need. So you can do it morning, noon, or night. It's going to give you energy if you need energy. It's going to unwind you, prepare you for restful sleep if you do it in the evening. And really, truly, if you do fall asleep, if you start snoring, because sometimes that happens in groups, there's always one that snores, who cares? Body needed that, but that the aim is truly to remain awake and alert and ride the rhythm of the words being spoken and start to see what is being offered. And that's Yoga Nidra.
I love that. I love it, love it, love it so much. It's a practice that I also use if I have a hard time in the middle. If I wake up in the middle of the night and my mind starts going, it's definitely a place where I go to, like, okay, I do my 3 deep breaths and then, like, okay, we're going to go to the beach for a little minute here. And usually by the time I'm that far along, like, check my body, go to the beach. By the time I usually don't even make it that far. I'm back to sleep.
I would say do it at that time too. Why not? Give it a go. Yes.
Yeah, because you'll probably find that you can take your brain away from whatever you're ruminating on that you really can't do anything about. It's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Full stop. Go to sleep.
Go to sleep.
Yes.
And why do we resist sleep, right? Like, we have resisted sleep since we were children.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still resisting sleep.
Wow.
I am. It's okay, maybe not everybody.
Mm-hmm,
I will, but I resist sleep. To me, it's that productivity, accomplishment, so much more important than sleep. Always was for many years, not anymore. But why do we resist going to bed? What is it? What do we feel like we're gonna miss?
Well, the FOMO is real, right? Fear of missing out. And that's so interesting, right? Since childhood, wow, that we are resisting and kind of digging our heels in.
Go to bed as kids, you dig your heels in. You don't want to go to bed. Yeah. So maybe just unwinding a little bit of that piece for yourselves can also help, right? It can also help you get some good sleep. Wow, we've had a great conversation about sleep. What else would you like to tell us, Danae? Is there anything else that you want to dive into today?
Well, I just want to remind your listeners that yoga is always there for you, right? And especially your listeners that are so connected to their faith. Yoga is a practice that is not a religious practice, right? It is a practice of connecting on a more deeper level with yourself. So learning more about your breathing, learning more about how to get physically stronger and emotionally resilient. And that yoga meets you as you are, and that a good teacher will know how to offer adaptations, other possibilities. So if you're ever in a class and you're struggling or you're not sure, ask a question. Just that yoga meets you as you are every time. And that's my aim of teaching, is that everyone feels welcome and included. Even if you find I'm not the teacher for you, at least you've discovered yoga is for you, right? Because I like to crack jokes and have fun. It's a sacred practice, but it's not serious or uptight. So that's what I would like to offer to your listeners.
I'm gonna just throw a couple of additional things to that. Yoga is also meant to be for you. So you get in there and you're practicing next to me, but you haven't stretched since you were in high school. You're going to be upset because I am super limber, super flexible. I've been doing it my whole life. Whether it was ballet stretches or yoga or some other kind of stretching, I have been stretching my whole life. And so I really want to encourage you to leave the comparison at the door.
Yes, please.
And only practice for you. And this week, maybe you can't touch your toes. Maybe you can barely touch your knees, right? But in a few weeks, you'll touch the middle of your shin, and then you'll touch your ankle, and then maybe the fingertips will touch the floor, and you will get there over time. The comparison piece has to be left outside.
I agree 1008%.
And if you're uncomfortable, stand in the back, fine. And if you can't do a pose, do something sort of.
Yes.
Nobody cares.
Yes. Yes. And it's a personal
Nobody
journey.
cares.
Yes.
It is a personal journey. If you can't do something, just sit down and put your feet out in front of you and maybe just stretch or go into child's pose or something that's comfortable or near what they're doing. Just approximate and give yourself a lot of grace when you
Yes.
begin.
Yes. I was just going to choose that word, grace. It's so important. The self-compassion piece, right? Even right and left sides might feel different, right? And
100%.
what's possible on one side is a little bit different on the other side. And that's the invitation to know, one, body is rich in asymmetry, right? We know we have one boob that's a different size than the other, one foot that's longer than the other. This is nature, right? Asymmetry is real. So have that self-compassion piece that, oh, I can be curious about, oh, this is a little different, and that's okay, instead of judging or comparing. That's the worst possible thing you can do, because you'll be stripped of the peace and the bliss that arrives from the yoga class. And I love how you said, yes, you might start this way, and then as you come again, it'll be this way. And then as you keep coming, it'll continue to shift, because that's what happens, right? No one started out gangbusters, right? We all begin new and fresh. Everyone was a student at the first class for the first time as new, myself included.
Yeah, I mean, just because I can stretch on a ballet bar doesn't mean that I knew all the yoga poses the first day I walked in. I didn't know any of that. That was completely new to me when I first walked in, and I'm a Bikram lover from a long time ago. And I loved the exactness because it fit my ballet practice from before.
Yes, truly.
The exactness of some of the positions in yoga and hand this way, that way, you know, like even just all the precision. But not everybody likes that. And not everybody, that doesn't, you don't have to be that way. It can be messy and sloppy, and maybe your arms are kind of rounded, or your shoulders are down here, or maybe they're up here. And like, it's fine. It's fine. It's your practice.
There's also so many different styles of yoga, right? There's more active or fiery or sweaty styles of yoga. There's also very calming and slow. And even there's restorative yoga, where you are propped up and held by various props, bolsters, blankets, sandbags, blocks. So body doesn't have to do the work, quote unquote. You just surrender unto the props. All of it counts.
Yes, it does. All of it counts. There are classes for you ladies who are just like, oh, I can't. There's senior classes.
Yes.
Like there are beginning classes. Yes. There's probably seated yoga. Like there's all levels. All levels. I know that at my gym, there are yoga classes with weights, which kind of seems a little counterintuitive. But they use the poses and some light weights. But that's not something that all of us need to be doing.
Right.
Right. I am a hot yoga fan. The hotter that room is, the better I feel. Right. And y'all are like, oh my God, I hate sweating. Don't go to a hot yoga class. Like there's enough different types of yoga and available to most of us. And if not available locally, how about online?
Definitely now. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So how can people work with you?
Well, I offer private yoga support. So in-person is preferred, although I do have clients who are in other states. So we work through FaceTime.
Okay.
And that works really nicely. And working one-on-one with women is it's just so rewarding to see the shifts and the transformations. I also take people on global retreats.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So
when's your next one? Do you have one planned? I mean, that's kind of.
I do, in fact, one coming up in June to Santa Fe, New Mexico. This is called Clarity and Connection, June 6th through the 9th. And we have 3 spots. This is a retreat exclusively for women. that are ready to claim time to rest, be well fed and nourished, enjoy being in the company of like-minded women, and of course, empowering yoga. And the stunning landscape that is Santa Fe. I chose these dates on purpose. It'll fall over new moon. So what's really so special about Santa Fe is they don't have light pollution. So it'll be an inky black sky with all the stars.
Oh, I just got chills all over.
And you can soak in the cedarwood hot tub at night after dinner as long as you want. And stargaze.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I went there for a minute.
You're welcome to come along.
Sounds fantastic. Wow. So that's a really cool opportunity. So for those of you who are listening before June of 2024, you better pay attention. Otherwise, I will make sure that all of your information so that they can find your next retreats. Do you have them booked out for a little bit, or is that just your next one that you know of?
Yes, I can say that Galapagos is coming in 2025, October 18th through the 25th. I can share with you a retreat retreat interest list for folks that want to get
great. So you have a waiting list.
Yes, a waiting list. Exactly.
That's great. I will make sure that we get that link and make sure that gets into the show notes so that you can stay apprised of all the cool things that Danae is doing. The Galapagos sound fantastic.
Bucket list. Yes.
Definitely a bucket list. And for the scientist in me, there's a little piece of that. Just all of the species and all the coolness that happens there. Totally. So anyway, any final words, thoughts?
Yes, one more thing. I'd love to extend a Yoga Nidra audio recording to your community. So I'll share that with you too, Dr. Chris. So
that's so cool.
Yes. So you can lay down and listen and practice this.
Oh, that's beautiful. Y'all, that is an amazing gift. Really. If you can take in what that can do for your body. I know that a lot of you work a 9 to 5 and maybe taking that half an hour in the middle of the day is just not possible. However, if you can do it, yes, of course, in the middle of the day, but even if you do it right when you get home, like it can make your evenings go so differently. Or if you use it as a sleep aid, like that's also a fine place to do it. You can use this to go to sleep at night or if you wake up. It's an amazing practice. Like I said, I've done something very similar and or exactly like it, maybe not called that, or maybe I didn't know it was called that, for literally decades. And it's just part of my routine. Not every day, but on days when I haven't slept or I'm just overly emotional or overly exhausted for whatever reason, I'm like, if it's before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't like to do it much after 3, because then it'll start impacting your sleep later. But if I can do it like 1 o'clock is like ideal. Half an hour, and it feels like I've slept 4 hours. Like if I clear, ready to go, energy, recharged on so many levels. It's great. So I'm a fan.
Yay.
I know. Thank you so much today, Danae. I really do appreciate your wisdom and your presence with me today and your time.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Chris.